Yeah, I'm born and raised in Stockholm, Sweden, and my parents are both from Eritrea. And I started getting involved in Eritrean human rights issues, Eritrean politics, if that's the right word, a couple years ago when I started an organization to work for the release of my uncle, who's a journalist who's been in prison in Eritrea since 2001. And for me, it was very natural to start working for the release of my uncle because I've heard about his story since I was 6 years old. That was how old I was when he was in prison in 2001. And my whole life my mom had told me about him. And when I got to the right age, at least what I thought it was natural to just start using whatever platform I had to voice his story and voice the stories of his colleagues that are imprisoned alongside him after 2001, before 2001, and in 2001 together with him. And the issues that we work with in the organization regards press freedom more particularly, similar to PEN Austria and PEN International. Because for us, press freedom is one of the pillars of democracy that any country that wants to function in any respectful and practical manner requires. And there are, of course, arguments that the Eritrean regime has been terrible from the beginning, even before they became a government. But the consequences of the crackdown on the press in 2001 are quite evident. And the fact that they decide to target journalists isn't random. Any government who wants to target the voice of the people, who wants the people of a country not to have any platform to speak from, any way to voice their concerns or critiques or any platform to discuss, will silence the people whose job it is to do so. And in a country, the job the people whose job is to voice the people's concerns, debates, etc., is journalists. So when you imprison journalists and when you create an environment of fear, you silence the people. And if you look at the people of Eritrea, it's a silenced people, it's a censored people, it's a captivated people whose platform, whose voice has been silenced since 2001. And the work kind of our, what we want to do is kind of do the job that my uncle and his colleagues would have done had they still been in freedom. And in an interview with my uncle in the 90s, I think it was 1991, he was one of the people who founded Eritrea, so he gave an interview with a German journalist about why he wanted to start this, so why he wanted to be involved in this project to start the public service broadcasting TV channel. And he said that he wants to start a dialogue with journalists abroad and with journalists in Eritrea so they can share the stories from their country and then vice versa, so they can learn from each other, they can communicate with each other. And that is the point of journalism in a country, to be a platform not only for the people in the country but to transmit news and information to other countries so we can learn from each other and we can know what happens in those countries. Eritrea is considered by many a blank spot on the map. Many people don't know that it exists, many people don't know what's happening there, which I think is a huge issue and which I think is instrumental in the in the fight for Eritrean democracy and justice. So what we want to do is kind of put Eritrea back on the map in whatever way and whatever capacity that we have. I started this when I was in high school, so we started sharing this at my high school, other high schools in Sweden, Europe, and then other continents. And now we're working at universities. We work with different journalists, newspapers. We use different dates, such as now 2 weeks ago was the 16-year anniversary of my uncle's arrest. So we did a global campaign for that, and we try to do these different campaigns to raise the voices of these people, not only the journalists but the people that they would have spoken up for. I think a member of PEN Eritrea wrote an article last year in The Guardian about these journalists who've been imprisoned and mentioned a quote that he said that my uncle and his colleagues used to say in the newsroom, and that was that if we don't give them a voice, who will? And that's something that I think we all should kind of go for and kind of remember that these were people who were trying to give a voice to their people and now they are imprisoned. So I'm not a journalist, I was a student, I'm still a student, but we're kind of forced to become journalists, we're forced to become activists, to speak up for those who can and speak up for those who they would have spoken up for, but now obviously are incapable of doing. So that's kind of my background and how I think I tie press freedom issues to the general situation of human rights in the country. And all these issues that have been highlighted about national service, if there is no journalism, if there is no press to cover this, who will speak about this, who will transmit this to the world, and even to us in the diaspora? We have something called Radio Eritrea that, for example, transmits from Paris to across the world, but they're not based in Eritrea. It's harder for them to speak to Eritreans on the ground. So these are all just different ways that we try to compensate for the lack of kind of independent journalism in the country. And like Dania said, it's the only country in Africa without any independent media, probably one of the few in the world. So it is a very difficult task that we have, but I think it's vital in the fight for democracy and justice in Eritrea.
Thank you for giving us this opportunity and especially arranging the conference this afternoon. So what to say? Really encouraging and also keeping the work. My name is Saadia Hassanin and I'm a researcher based in Sweden. Unlike Daniel and Sarah, I've never been in Eritrea. I don't have the experience that they have. I didn't work there. And one of the reasons is, like my study group, as he mentioned, refugees in Sudan, were the groups that have been neglected and systematically the regime worked not to let us to return to our areas, you can say. And I say our because I'm also from the old case law. We have two types of refugees. We have the old case law, which I call, or other researchers as well, those who left Eritrea under the Ethiopian colony. Eritrea was under the Ethiopian colony. And these are the mothers and the fathers of the revolution who fought side by side the guerrillas, and as a diaspora group also who did their best to this liberation of the land happen. However, all this, the regime started from the beginning not to include these refugees or not to let them systematically to return by doing anything that could to discourage what you call the international community. I don't know if I understood Daniel and Sarah that the war with Ethiopia was a case that they highlighted. The regime started way before that. From 1939 for jailing, teachers from Karen, for example, Karen area, in central Eritrea, teachers 120 without. Until now, we don't know where they are, what happened, exactly like the others, then followed also. And then from 2001, we saw also the journalists and other groups being jailed. So this is not something new. It started from the beginning, and even if you say transitional government, it was not like, it didn't start as government because it was jailing people by dividing by groups, some of them blaming them for religion, calling them jihad, which in Eritrean history we never had any problem between Muslims and Christians. But this regime systematically, these are to divide us. And thanks God, I hope, until now we don't have that problem, and I hope also in the future that we are not going to have such problems. So this is what I would like to add after what both of them covered.
Thank you.
Everybody is talking about how are we going to have our food, our grains ground, how are we going to get the petrol from petrol station. So people are thinking about that. After 1 week, there is no water. So everybody is thinking about lack of water, and everybody is talking and discussing how are we going to, where are we going to find containers, where are we going to find tankers, and how are we going to find drinking water. The next month, there is no sugar. So the family will start to think about how are we going to feed the kids, what are we going to do with the tea, the coffee, and everything. The next time there is no let's say transportation system. Yes. there is no transportation system. Then after 3 months, when people start getting used to the problem, another problem comes. They talk about you all need to register afresh in the government administration. So people are wondering why, what's going on? A new order has come from the president's office that every, let's say, 42 or 50 to 65-year-old has to come, register, and go for military training. So this is how the government works. So once they have done all this, they would call again the people to say, I think we need to retrain again. So this is how the whole system works. It's very systematic. It's just like keeping the people worried.
زاليتين وانك دكسا وفيري بديك ملسا الرايدو على ما يبني حرايه ماني مون تعري كمايه سوك عكوش لغي حوايه
على ما يبني حرايه هابني سلامي باقي
حدنت يا حيري كمل كازامبري فتحو انتزاري
تسلام تنفس رهوة خلص تنفس حدنت يا واحد
حنتي يا تميتي هنقوز بلا عمري سلام بيتي
سلام كسلامي أهدي خدلتي أكاي وقي
عينو خفيتول علي بهقيك زنب كمان ببنبني سماعي
بايلا تخلف تعالى وخدا جميرة الدرو اسكذا بنا أكبر
سنايك خول طعمي معارك فسس تسمي بهقين عن لومي
بهقيت قادة سلا شنقيدة تنفس سلا ربا أيا زلا
فوق ردي السماي ولا ليل علي
تقام ردي تحتاي سلام من اللي صدرك
سلام كله وقل
سناي من بعلم لا 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 لا
يا ما كراي ودين وفتاز رخبرها ولا ينوح قوان حنت معلت الله
حاضر بسما حاضر بمدري تضعنا تري هبن فتري
فتلف حسكا قمت
فقر ريخا سنيت تدفى سبيكا تنعال يتصحي وتمنيت
عينو خفيتول علي بهقيك زنب كماي ببنبني السماي
لا تخلف دعوة لا جميرة الدرو زبالي اسكك برو
سنايك غول طعمي معارك فسس اسمي بهقين عن لومي
بهقيت قادة سلا شنقيدة تنفس سلا قربا أيا زلا
فوق ربي السماي ولا ليل علي
تقام ردي تحتاي السلام بل اللي صدرك
سلام كله وقل
سناي زلنا بعلم لا 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 لا
يا ما كراي وكيل وفتاز رخبرها ولا ينوح قوان حنت معلت الله
حاضر بسما حاضر بمدري تضعنا ترى هبن فتري
فتلف حسكا قمت
فقر ريخا سنين تدفى سنيكا سنعال يتصحي وتمنيت يتصح
حصدت الوبال معكز ملكز بسيخة ونعال منتف مكتف بأغلظ حبال وغيرك يخزن جميع الغلال يهرب ويخرب ويسرب جمال وباسم اللواري تهد الكباري وتشق الرمال سيادته بتدبر شؤون الأماسي يرش الحديقة ويرص الكراسي وبين الغواني ورنين الخماسي تعاين تشوفه بتقول دبلوماسي يمضي ويرضي ويعضي المحال يلعلع ويشفط بحلقه الجداول يحاور ويداول يساوم ويقاول بيعرف يناول حزارك تحاول تعاكس تقال كمان لو تلاحظ صديق المحافظ وقالوا الملاحظ عيون الجواحظ تباري الريال حليلك بتسرق سفنجة وملاية وغيرك بيسرق خروف السماية في واحد بيسرق تصدق ولاية وده أصل الحكاية وضروري النضال ضروري النضال.
قناة SUD TV، قناة كل السودان.
SUD TV، SUD TV، SUD TV، SUD TV.
SUD قناة كل السودان.
SUD TV, kana bita Sudan kulu.